Hello, Sumo fans. We are back for our regularly scheduled Day 10 Tuesday night affair. I'm going to do my annoying thing and go down through do the rundown of the day's events, matches that I think are notable, playoff pictures. And as I do that, I wait for you guys to say a whole bunch of stuff so that we can talk about things. So that's basically how this works. I have to say, as a general comment, this basho has far less things to talk about that are match related than other thing related. We could talk about the injuries. We could talk about the notable injuries and how that's going to impact the future. And basically, the story is how many people are not here as opposed to the actual matches, with some notable exceptions. Hello, Monster. Yes, you are the Sumo fan, the one Sumo fan who happens to be here right now. I started a little bit early. I think that's good, just to make sure everything's working quite well. And I did save the chat from Saturday. I was going through it, and I saw a couple of really interesting things that you guys were talking about. So unless you guys bring them up again in the chat, I will bring them up, and we'll talk about them. It might just be me and Monster. I don't know. But anyway, let's get started. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you right away that this show has a big asterisk on it. No matter who takes it, which very likely will... I don't even want to say likely Onosato. I really don't want to say that. He's an untested kid as far as I'm concerned. And he could run away with it. But, it's only day 10. But we'll get there. I don't want to jump the gun. Okay. So we're going to do just a little bit of Juryo. Go over the Juryo picture here, the playoff picture, or the, who's going to win the basho picture. So Endo, I have to say, I thought once he crashed down into Juryo, that was it. He was going to have a nice slow fade into the sunset. But just in the match today against Shimazu Umi, he looked like he had more energy than I've seen him have in years. I don't know if there's some sort of motivation to prove that he doesn't belong down there, or if just fighting new opponents that are, not necessarily up to his skill level is energizing him. But you wouldn't know that he's been struggling if you were a brand new Sumo fan watching him in Juryo. If you thought he was a Juryo wrestler, you would think, wow, this guy's the next big thing, instead of like a veteran who's slowly been breaking down over the years. And with that said, he is 10-0, which is really nice to see. Trailing behind him is Wakataka Kage, which is also a relief because he really did come back too soon in my estimation. And hopefully it doesn't hurt him in the end. Hopefully he can overcome it and, slowly do his thing. The fact that he's 9-1 is very encouraging. But I don't want to get too excited because really injuries are killing us. They're absolutely killing us. With him is Onokatsu, and then at 8-2, Chiyoshima makes a reemergence into like a position for me to even speak his name. And then Shimano Umi, which is also good to see him sort of pulling himself out of the doldrums. And, one of the comments from Monster here is, Juryo is more interesting than the top division this time. Very good tournament for the Juryo Chads. Yeah, I have to say, especially as more and more guys go down from injury, like Mitaki Yumi, that's a whole other, that's like, oh, man. This could have been the time for him. The tournament becomes more and more like a drudge, like, all right, let's just get through it and hope everybody comes out alive. You almost feel like you're throwing a rope down to a bunch of guys that are at the bottom of a well, and you're like, come on, guys, you can make it. Just a couple more days. I don't know that I've felt that way in a while, but I will say this. Sumo has a way of becoming exciting and interesting at the very end. No matter how much a tournament starts off rough, so far, something cool usually happens at the end. So I'm going to stay positive and think that way. So let's go through some matches and we'll do our thing. So Oshoma, the puller, beats Rudin. I found that funny because we had that whole pulling conversation on Saturday with our special live stream, because I typically don't do one on Saturday. So that was a bonus for everybody. And thank you all for coming. That was probably one of our most well-attended live streams. And you guys had so many interesting things to say, and it was a lot of fun. So thank you for coming for that. But yeah, I am starting to find the pull sumo more interesting now that I'm hyper aware of it. Now, Roga, it's interesting because in some ways it feels like he's fighting his best, but his record is 4-6. So he's got a lot of energy all of a sudden. Like, he seemed kind of sluggish to me in previous tournaments. Now he seems aggressive and he's trying things and he's going for it. But he's going to have to slowly, build his record up. He's starting to throw some wins out there now, but he's got to he's going to win out at this point to save this tournament, because just a couple more slide backs and, at least he has 6 wins, but he's in danger. He's in danger of 6 and 9. So he needs to just kind of keep doing his thing one day at a time, his style of sumo, and hopefully all will be well. Chirano Umi continues to show that he is the top of his class, outshining Roga and others. He defeats Tomokaze, who really had a good jump on him, but you see at the edge, he's got nothing. There's just no power. The poor guy is just beat down so bad, and obviously he's going back to Juryo, but it would have been nice to see him do a couple of things. I don't know how many of you were watching Sumo back when he first started, but he was so amazing. It is sad to see what's happened to him. So I'm just happy when I can see him, but it's just falling apart, unfortunately. Takada Fuji handles Ichi Yamamoto like a veteran does. It's interesting to see Takada Fuji in his later years, because since I've started watching sumo, he's always been solid, sturdy. He's sitting there, he's working his angles, he's very patient, and he finds an opportunity to win. In the last maybe 2 years or so, that hasn't always worked for him. He's starting to slow down. He's starting to show his age and his injuries. And now all of a sudden for this tournament, he's kind of like the Takada Fuji of 5 years ago. And he is still in the Yusho picture. I don't expect him to take it, but you never know. It could be like a Tamawashi story. Then we get to Kim Bozan, who is starting to really show the skill that, was promised to us when he came up. I feel like he was very tentative the last, I don't know how many tournaments he's actually been here at this point. But he's very tentative from the start. And all of a sudden I'm starting to see, he pulls a beautiful Shitatenage on the edge. He's starting to show he's a skilled guy. He's got power. And now maybe he's not so afraid of getting injured. So now he's going to, if you're afraid to get injured, you'll get injured. And he was, worried about that from the start. Now it seems like, he got some of these injuries out of the way, recovered from them. Maybe it's not the worst thing. Maybe the best thing is just to push forward. So, Takayumi, this is a real bummer, because even in his match today, he showed the kind of energy and aggression that previous Yusho winner Takayumi would show with whatever's going on with the thigh. I almost forgot he was injured for a second there, and then right at the edge, he gets turned around and pushed out sideways, and then you see that he can barely put weight on that thigh still. And so here he is 7-3, but there's no way he's going to win this thing, because unless, he gets some sort of pain relief and is able to just, limp his way through, but I just don't see that happening. So unfortunately, this really would have been Takayumi's Yusho to win, and now he's not, he doesn't have a shot. And that's really, really disappointing. But hey, he's still there. He's trying. He's at least going for that Kachikoshi. We'll see if he sticks around after that. I am doubtful. Okay. Now we got to talk about Midori Fuji. He's just, for whatever reason, and this happens every other tournament. This is not the first time this has happened. He has tournaments where he decides, okay, I'm going to do straight on sumo for the entire tournament. And he gets pushed around like the lightweight that he is. I don't understand it, but it's what he's doing. And, he does get some wins where he actually pushes out guys way bigger than him. But he's got to get low enough. And they all know that he's going to try to do that. So here he is going up against a monster in Shonan Umi. And, of course, he rightfully gets, flicked out. So, he's still a super cool wrestler. But he's not going to win a lot of matches doing straight up. Could he mix the Katatsukashi up with some other moves, maybe? Maybe this is a ploy, like make it so that people don't know what kind of match they're going to get from him. And maybe in the long-term strategy, that's the move. But it's not working right now. Then we come to Meisei, who's looking better than ever. And I have this sense that, most of the big dogs are out. And the two big dogs that are still in, Hoshuri was not having a good tournament. And Koto Sakura is doing what Koto Sakura does. On one hand, he's a very skilled, promising Ozeki who's actually having the best Ozeki run. I don't want to say Ozeki run, like running as Ozeki of anybody in modern memory. But to be a champion, there's just yet another step. So, there's a little bit of issue there that he's got to work on. I'll get to that when I get to him. But my point is that guys like Meisei right now, they know this is their best shot. So why not give it everything you have and just push a little bit harder and, make sure that pinky toe doesn't go out of the ring. And, just it gives you this extra fire that this may be my one and only shot. And so when you see that, that's when you see guys like Meisei rise to the challenge. So the next I want to talk about is Tobi Zaru versus Atami Fuji. And I really wish Mitch was here right now. I almost wanted to delay in hopes that he was coming, but I will talk about it anyway and we'll let him know. Or if he listens to this later, he can listen to it. So I was watching the NHK coverage of it, and Tobi Zaru was doing all this crazy stuff. He's running around, he's pulling at him, he's tugging at him, and then he tries a leg pick and he totally fails at it. And Murray Johnson actually laughed at him. And I just thought of Mitch. I mean, he was like, okay, it looks like Tobi Zaru just defeated himself. Hilarious. I recommend that if you're a hater like Mitch, you go back and watch that match because it was hilarious with the commentary. Okay, next we have Daisho. So here's Daisho, both his arms and basically all of his fingers are messed up. But he keeps his composure and he waits for the right moment of attack. I mean, this dude's a bruiser. I don't know what's going to happen in this tournament for him. He'll likely go back to Sanyaku if all stays the way it is. But he, too, was probably thinking this is my tournament and that it's not worked out for him. I mean, Daisho would have been a great candidate to, be in this Yusho race, but he's still there. But I don't know. I shouldn't count him out yet. I should wait. Okay. So now we get to Onosato, and I'm seeing all the comments, guys. I do see that Joe said he fell asleep right before Onosato, which, hey, it's tough watching. I assume you're watching it in the middle of the night like I would have to do. I would always fall asleep before Takekeisho matches. It was so sad. So Onosato bulldozed Gonoyama. This is my theory about Gonoyama. I think he lacks the stamina. I think he's got about 7 days worth of I can crush you, and then he's done. Because this is what I'm consistently seeing from him is all of a sudden the power just seems to be gone in week 2. He's a young guy. There's got to be a way to fix this, but at this point, as promising as he is, I don't think he has it in him to fight really, really well for 2 weeks. Okay, so we'll get into the talk about, who's going to actually win this thing once I get through these last few notes. Okay, so Ura gets his face trashed. It was like a one-sided boxing match by Abi. The battle of the three letters, Ura and Abi. But, he hung in there, and he's still the best. And I really wish we were getting an Ura Yusho. That's really what I want, but we're not going to get that. Entertaining as ever. I get excited every single time I see an Ura match. And then Joe says he's watching at 12 to 2 a.m. I would so prefer 12 to 2 a.m. I have to watch 3 to 5 a.m. And I really think that's the worst. Maybe 2 to 4 is worse. No, I think 3 to 5 is worse. Because once you hit 5 a.m., it's close enough to wake up time that you might accidentally not be able to get back to sleep until like right before you're supposed to wake up. And getting up at 2:45 to watch at 3, it's just like you've barely been to bed. So I prefer 12 to 2, but I do understand why you would fall asleep. And then finally, the Hoshoryu match. The Henka, not Henka. Now, I'm not here to discuss Henkas anymore. There might be some new people here. We have discussed Henkas to my detriment. We have discussed every angle and every opinion, and we've fought, and we've made up, and we've changed our minds. But I'll just say this. In this particular tournament, Hoshoryu's Henka not Henka was definitely a desperation move. He's not having the best tournament. A lot of people had high hopes for him, myself included. So it felt a little like, ugh. It wasn't the best feeling to see that Henka. I'm like, let's move on. I wanted to turn it off. But I'm glad I didn't turn it off because now we have to talk about the Takayasu Kotozakura match. Monster, it's a Henka, not Henka. We'll talk about that later. It was not a Henka, but it was the type of thing that's kind of annoying. But yes, it wasn't an actual Henka. Anyway, the Takayasu Kotozakura match. This is the thing. Hello, Stargazer. This is the thing about Takayasu. He's got a lifelong back problem, so he gets spasms. So that means he's out for a couple of days. It depends on when his back decides to calm down. It's not the same as a typical injury where it's like, okay, this takes 6 weeks to heal. There's no predictability to it. Once it starts, it starts. And once it stops, it stops. And when it stops, you see Takayasu come in and be Ozeki extreme for a day. And you're like, why can't we have this more? Injuries are terrible. I mean, that Owate Nage against Kotozakura was an absolute thing of beauty. If I was going to show a first-time sumo fan a match, it would have been that one. That was just perfectly executed against a guy who is bigger than him, against a guy who, when Takakeisho attempted this, it destroyed his pectoral muscle, and now he'll probably never fight again. And Takayasu made it look easy with a bad back. The guy's so skilled. This is why I want to root for him. But unfortunately, the stability is not there because of the back. Real bummer for Kotozakura, though, because he's trying to make a name for himself. He's trying to live up to the name Kotozakura. He knows that most of the guys, like Hoshoryu's having a bad tournament, and everybody else is out. And this is supposed to be his time to shine, and he's getting, overshadowed by Onosato. And this happened to him in the last tournament with Takeru Fuji. So he's in sort of a bummer spot. And hopefully he can overcome it. Hi, Mitch. You missed our talk about Tobizaru. It was very funny. But we'll get back to it. So I'm feeling for Kotozakura. I am. Let's see if he can pull something off. Let's hope. And just so you know, the reason I have Endo up here is because he's 10-0. I wish we had somebody in the top division who was doing as well as Endo is doing in Juryo. Endo's matches have also been quite exciting. I can't say that all the matches here have been exciting, but Takayasu Sakura was amazing, and I have such a great, still image in my head of that throw. So, all right, now I'm going to switch over for a moment to make sure that I'm right about these records. Sometimes I write things down and I could be wrong. Okay. So for tomorrow's matches, we've got Onosato and Hoshoryu. This should be an awesome match. Unfortunately, this match is way earlier than I would like as well. It's going to be a day 11 match. When we really are hurting for last day matches. But it is what it is. Hoshoryu 6-4. He's really got to put it together if he wants to have a good Ozeki tournament. But he's not looking great. So hopefully he can fire himself up enough to rise to the occasion against Onosato, because he could make it really interesting. At this point, John and I always discuss this. After you get past day 10, that's when the nerves really settle in. That's when you start to think, maybe I could win this thing. So Onosato's going to start feeling those nerves about now. Hoshoryu could take advantage of that. The best he can hope to do, though, I think, is to play spoiler. Although with the way this tournament is going, who knows? This could be an 11-4 tournament. I don't think it's going to be, but I definitely think it's a 12-3. I don't think we're going to have. I don't think Onosato is going to win out. So we have Onosato versus Hoshoryu. We have Shonana Umi versus Takada Fuji. So these are the other two. I want to make sure I'm right about this, because I was a little surprised, actually. Let's take a look. Yeah, I was a little surprised that Takada Fuji and Shonana Umi are 8-2. So all of our 8-2s are going tomorrow. Shonana Umi versus Takada Fuji is very interesting, because you have Shonana Umi, who's Mr. Defense guy, even though he's a monster, and he's going to do his pulling and his sort of, maneuvering around. But Takada Fuji is he's the wall of defense. He's much smaller than Shonana Umi, but he's so rock solid when he's healthy. So this could be a bit of a chess match. We'll see. I could see Takada Fuji winning it, but Shonana Umi should win it considering his size and age. But Takada Fuji is very crafty. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then we have the battle of the 7-3s. Basically, everyone is 7-3 except for Ura, which is so sad. I wish she was 7-3. So we have Meisei versus Koto Sakura. I don't know what to expect with this, because Koto Sakura has been pretty good lately, sort of absorbing the type of fighter that Meisei is. This sort of pushing, thrusting, aggressive stuff. And he's gotten a stinging loss today with Takayasu, so I feel like he's going to be extra aware. And he's very good at the edge. Somebody's trying to push him back, push. He just does the ballet thing and knocks them down. So Meisei is going to have a really hard time, but he could take advantage if Koto Sakura has any doubts after today's match. Then we have Daisho Ura. I actually think Daisho should take this, because it looks like Ura's getting a little overwhelmed at this point. The way he got slapped around by Abi today just didn't look like the fighter we had been seeing, the rest of the time in this tournament. So I think he's starting to lose steam a little bit, and I think Daisho will take advantage of that. And then we have Shonana Umi versus Mitaki Umi. This kind of isn't even a fair match, because Mitaki Umi is hurt. With that said, he could pull off a victory. Shonana Umi doesn't know all of his tricks. Mitaki Umi is quite veteran wily, and he fought good today despite the injury, so he could pull it off. We know he wants his Kachikoshi, but we'll have to see. And then we have Oshoma versus Koto Shoho. Now that was a surprise for me too, because when the tournament started off, let me get over there. Sorry if the video itself is delayed. When the tournament started off, I was kind of down on Koto Shoho, and here he is throwing himself into the Yusho picture. This would be great if he really made something out of this tournament, because he should have been better than he is way longer ago. And it'd be nice if he finally found his footing and went forward. And Oshoma is the new guy, and interesting to see a new guy hanging in there. Let's see what he can do. He's going to start getting the tougher matches now. Might be nice to see him either succeed or get pushed around. Both are fun. So I'm going to go into the chat, read your guys' chat, and then I have some of the stuff you guys want to talk about on Saturday we can also talk about. So I'm going all the way back to the beginning. Sorry, guys. That's how we roll around here. Okay. Chio Shoma is probably securing his promotion in a visitor match against Sudagisho. Ha 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 ha. Oh, boy. Poor Sudagisho. I don't know how this man fights with one leg. I had predicted we would never see him again. And nope, there he is fighting like a man who's out of his mind. And here comes Chio Shoma, who has been kind of hanging out and stuck in Juryo, trying to push his way back up and be that guy he was 10 years ago. I didn't think about it before, but Oshoma does pull a bit more than I thought. Is he starting to rise on your list? Roga is not completely outmatched in Makauchi like Mitoryu or Bushozan, but he is a work in progress. I think that's a very fair way to put it. He's not, like, you don't look at him and say, he doesn't belong here, but he's got to work on a lot of stuff. And I think this tournament, he really is working through something. And sometimes when you have to go back and, tweak things, your record's not going to be great, but you might be really great in the next tournament. So Roga could have an amazing July because there's so much going on in this tournament that's positive that if he could just seize that and hold on to that and use that in the next tournament. And July is the wacky one where everybody slips around and everybody's sweating. Although, he could be one of the guys that doesn't work for, but we'll see. July is always a complete, flip a coin. Chirano Umi hype the blessing was real. It is nice to see that he's actually doing even better. He's not just hanging in there. He's improving very steadily. And maybe there's something there. I mean, nobody believed in this guy. Now all of a sudden he's showing people like I belong here. Mitaki Yumi is cursed to that poor man. It does seem like he's cursed at this point. You gotta feel for the guy. Not a lot has gone his way since he got Ozeki. It was like he reached the peak of the mountain and then he just went pfft, and everything's been tough ever since. I read Joe's comment about falling asleep. Shonana Umi and the Joy, let's get it. Yeah, Meisei had a good opportunity tonight versus Kodo. Has a good opportunity tonight versus Kodo. He does. He's fighting the best that I've seen him fight in quite some time. When he first came up, he had quite a bit of this spark in him, and it made me think that he was going to do great things. And he tried. I mean, he did get to Sanyaku, but it didn't work. There's so much competition. But in this tournament, there's not. So all he's got to do is put together a good couple of days, and he might get something amazing. At the very least, a special prize. And then Joe says, how about Takayasu coming back after 5 days and getting a big win too? Yep, we talked about that. I am a Takayasu believer, at least in the fact that you're going to get good matches from him. I don't know what will happen as a result of, will he ever win a Yusho? I don't know. Secretly in my heart, I'm never giving up on that till he retires. But of course, I can't expect it either. Takayasu, if he can stay healthy, is a super problem. Takayasu never stopped being Ozeki in concept. He lost the role, but he still acts like an Ozeki, looks like an Ozeki, fights like an Ozeki. And he had epic matches with Takakeisho back when they were both healthy. I surely miss those days. They were a nice match against each other. He's got a match versus Ura tonight. That must be Daisho that you're talking about. Well, Daisho already got one when there weren't several Kyujo, so it's not that bad. Are you talking about he got a Yusho? So saying like he doesn't have anything to prove? You shouldn't because Atami Fuji is number one and going much worse. You shouldn't because Atami Fuji is number one and going much worse. I don't even know what his record is right now. I should look. I mean, Atami Fuji's having a rough tournament because, he's 4-6. He's having a rough tournament because he's actually fighting way better than his record is. And he's lost a lot of close matches, and he's had a rough time of it. but he's a good fighter. And if he doesn't straighten it out, he is going to drop like a rock. So hopefully he can kind of get some luck his way or something. Okay, so back on the trail of Joe saying that he watches 12 to 2, it's because I wake up at 5 a.m., so I'm in a struggle fest, 15 days every 3 months. That is rough. So you watch 12 to 2, and then you have to get up at 5. Yeah, okay, I'll give it to you. It's as bad as when I have to do it. What is going on with Hosh? It's like he doesn't perform against people he should be creaming. It's mental. It's really mental with him. I think he has his greatest strength is also his greatest weakness, and that is he wants it so bad, and he cares so much, and that works against him. I think he gets in his head, tries to hype himself up, and the hype works against him. He is smaller than a lot of guys, but he's so talented that usually that's not a problem. But, he actually does lose to a lot of the small guys. So, his uncle's fighting cancer. That does throw a little wrench in your mind. Maybe he put on himself, I'm going to win for my uncle. And for some people, that's actually works. And for other people, it puts so much pressure on them that they actually have the opposite result. I see Hoshoryu as I watch him every tournament fighting himself. I feel like I'm watching a man battle in his brain before he ever battles the guy in front of him. And that's just who he is. And he'll have to find a way to sort of rein that in. Because obviously he is doing great as Ozeki in comparison to everyone else. And I will not say in comparison to Takakeisho. That's only in recent Takakeisho. Mikitishima, he's not going to be Ozeki already. Kotozakura, giving him a run for his money. But Kotozakura has a big advantage that a lot of guys don't have. He's a big guy, so he's really hard to push. He doesn't have to try risky moves to win a match. So he could stay healthy that way. I hope he does. But he's got Hoshoryu's got to take a little bit more risk, move a little bit more, and there's all these possibilities of things happening when you fight the way that he fights. So we'll see what happens with Hoshoryu. He'll get it together, but this might just be another one of those bad tournaments, and he's going to have to forget it and try harder the next time. It wasn't a Hanka, so we can't discuss Hankas. I thought the half Hanka made sense for Onosho. He's the type of guy who is weak to that. Yeah, it's strategically, and I did say hi to Stargazer, I believe, and hello to you, Mitch. Yeah, I guess the strategy worked, but I told you, what it is that maybe I'm wrong. I could be misrepresenting the sumo community, but I think we're all a little fatigued between scandal and ridiculous amount of injuries and the disappointment of Takeru Fuji not coming back. It's just kind of like, I'm not in the mood. I want to see Hoshoryu throw a guy, whatever. It's more of that kind of feeling. Joe says, we will likely see Hosh perform really well tonight because Onosato is perceived to be a real threat. That's how Hosh rolls. I really feel like Hoshoryu is the Vegeta of sumo. So, yes, I expect that he will rise to the occasion. It doesn't mean he'll win, but I feel like he'll go all out and it'll be entertaining, to say the least. He should beat him. Honestly and truly, he should beat Onosato. But Onosato's really on a roll at this point. He's looking pretty confident. And, he's got Goedo as a coach. That man thinks and plans the angles, and it's a great guy to be teaching someone like Onosato. Mitch says, I have a newfound appreciation of Atami Fuji for sending him into the second row. I just knew it. That's what you had been hoping for, was somebody to really fling Tobizaru. He got a little hurt, too. I hope you weren't rooting for that. I think he's all right. Joe said, but that being said, if you look at Hoshoryu's muscle tone, it's less than March. Like he isn't in the same shape. That's possible. Honestly, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how long some people have been watching, but if you watched Enho, for instance, Enho really struggled to gain weight. Enho was like a big guy in comparison to an average guy walking down the street. But compared to a sumo, he's like an itty bitty guy. And he had to work and work and work just to keep what he had. And Hoshoryu might be like that too. It might be one of the things like you can't take time off. You can't, stay away from the weights. Maybe he just can't get as toned as some of these other guys. I don't know. Or things could be going on with all the personal stuff. Maybe he took some time off. I don't know. But we'll have to see. All I have to say about this tournament is damn Takayasu and his lumbago. I forgot. Are you a Takayasu hater too? Because that was a beautiful match. So if you're hating on that, I don't know what to say. Onosato is very decorated as a college Rikishi. I wonder how much stage fright he gets, if at all. Well, that's a really good point. If he has a lot of experience being up there and, oh my goodness, there's so many comments. I missed where I was. If he has a lot of experience being, the guy, then maybe this is nothing. But still, it's the top division. It's his first time. I'm sure he's got some nerves. Shonan Naomi versus Takada Fuji is hype. I am really looking forward to that match. I hope it's the chess match that I predict and that it kind of goes back and forth for a little while and we have no idea who's going to win. If Hoshoryu beats Onosato, then Shonan Naomi could be in the sole lead. Yes! Yeah, Hoshoryu could play spoiler and wreck a tournament, and I'm sure he'd be more than happy to do that. I picked Shonan Naomi to win this one. I have a hunch that Takada Fuji won't keep this pace up. Takada Fuji shouldn't keep this pace up. But Tamawashi won. And I feel like Takada Fuji is as skilled as Tamawashi is. But Takada Fuji is way past the time when Tamawashi did it. So, I don't know. We'll see. I'm not expecting it, but I'm not throwing it away as a possibility. At least Shonan Naomi gets Kachikoshi if he wins. Hey, I think, assuming he gets that 8th win very soon, he's going to have something positive to take away from this tournament no matter what. Oshoma versus Koto Shoho is going to be a hot fight, I think. I hope so. I really do, because I want to root for Koto Shoho very badly. And Oshoma's like the new guy in the block, so I want to see what he's got. So I hope that's a great match. How many demotions are we going to see after this Basho? Kirishima and Takakeisho, maybe Waka. Oh, I'm sure we touched that as I go further down. I got bored and had a thought. Is Mitakeumi hurt, or is he overdoing his Takakeisho impression trying to get off the dohyo? He's actually hurt. He hurt his thigh. It's sort of a weird place to get hurt. Monster. Because of a lot of guys in the lead are lower ranked, they might not be fighting further up the Banzuke as much. Good for whoever wins Shonan Naomi versus Takada Fuji. Yeah, there's no one to fight. It's so... I don't like it. I don't like all these top guys being out. I'm bummed out about it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pretend that I'm like, yeah, this tournament's the best. No. I wanted Wakamoto Haru. I wanted Kirishima. At the very least, I knew to expect both Teruno Fuji. I didn't think Takakeisho even belonged there. So those two weren't a surprise, but then to lose Kirishima and Wakamoto Haru is like, oh, come on, you're killing me. Takakeisho won't be demoted. No, he's just going to play the Kataban game again, which, I don't know. I don't know how much longer he can, spare a body part. In the last tournament to overcome Kataban, he took out another body part that wasn't previously injured. And in fact, it's really hard to hurt a pectoral muscle, except for in sumo, of course. And a pectoral injury was how, that's what took out Kisanosato. He tried for a whole year to rehab from it, and he couldn't do it. So, I mean, we really might be at the very end of Takakeisho, which is so lame. He's only 28 years old, I think. It's like I was hoping he'd make it to 30, but it's not looking good. There needs to be a miracle. I'm slightly positive on Oshoma as of now, but he's still not an upper echelon pulling king. Give him time. Let him spend some time with Shonana Umi. Takakesha was 9-6, 2-2-11, 8-6, 0-2-9 in the last 4. You don't think? He can't get demoted unless he'll get demoted as far as he'll be a lower Ozeki. Actually, is he? Let me see where he's at. Gotta look. Banzuke, okay. No, I don't. I think he'll stay exactly where he is because Kirishima was ranked lower and he's also out. So Takakesha will stay in the exact same spot, but he will go to Kadoban, which means if he doesn't get his 8 wins, he loses Ozeki then. I would almost bet that Takakesha pulls some kind of miracle in his 8-7 next basho to stay at Ozeki. He is the miracle man. There's no question. He is the miracle man. If you see how quickly Kirishima got knocked out of this, and you see all the other guys before him, how has Takakesha fought 7 years with various parts of his body injured and still not demoted? I don't know what he's doing. Kirishima is 13-2, 11-4, 5-10, 1-6-4 in the last 4, and they're saying demotion. Ozeki is different than every other rank. And Yokozuna is different than every other rank. You get 2 shots at Ozeki no matter what your records are. And this is the Ozeki Kadoban roller coaster that we talk about here. You got to keep getting your at least 8 wins. If you have one tournament where you lose, you go into Kadoban status. If you do not get your 8 wins in that Kadoban status, you are automatically kicked out of Ozeki. Now you get one opportunity the first time that you get kicked out and you're put in Sekiwake, and if you get 10 wins, you can go back to Ozeki. If you do not, you have to start your Ozeki run all over again, which means they start looking at these records again, and you have to put, 3 of them together. Monster says, I'm born and raised Takayasu doubter. Oh, don't be so negative. These Takayasu haters. I want him to win just so you guys cry, okay? Atami Fuji is getting pulled down a lot. He's susceptible to the world's greatest sumo style. Well, that's the thing. Like, when he got hanked, that the hanka heard around the world, he's very vulnerable to being tricked. He gets pulled, he gets yanked on, he gets hanked. Maybe it's just he's too straightforward. I don't know. I really like Takayasu, but you never know when his lumbago is going to act up. Exactly. It's very unfortunate. It's like, he's having a great tournament, and his back is toast again. Great. When Hoshuri was on, he really looks a lot like Terunofuji. It's amazing. I want to see that Hosh back. I'm pretty sure he'll be back. The thing about Hoshuri is he's kind of streaky, but he still wins. So I expect he'll get his 8 and he'll be fine. He has not been on the Kadoban train. He's been the most stable Ozeki. Kotozakura's, he needs some tournaments to prove he can be just as stable. He's got to get his head clear. It's just Hoshoryu. I kind of think Hoshoriu's issue is that in his Makuuchi debut, Shodai won that basho and got promoted to Ozeki, and maybe he's taking that as an inspiration for his own Ozeki tenure. I don't think you should mention Shodai and a successful Ozeki in the same sentence. It just seems like a bad idea. I'm one to believe that using Shodai for inspiration is not a winning strategy. It's not. It's not. Poor Shodai. Tamawashi was looking good the first 4 days, but has been very out of it since. Standard Oshizumo variants, or is it Tamawashi now a more lower Makuuchi level guy? The man's almost 40 years old. I mean, he's gonna slow down. The fact that he's even fighting at the level he's fighting at just tells you he's some kind of miracle man. So, yeah, I just think he's slowing down. The guys are getting stronger, and it particularly what happens is you get injured more, and it's little tweaky injuries. It's like, oh, my hip hurts today. Oh, my toe hurts today. But you don't recover in a day or two. It takes like 2 weeks for some minor little tweak. And after a while, the constant feeling of pain starts to tire you out. So he's probably just kind of tired. Because all these sumo guys are hurt all over the place. Now to the important questions. What I want to know, do you all have nicknames for each Rikishi like I do? I don't think I... Do I have any nicknames? I only just shorten names sometimes. Like I'll call Takakeisho Keisho. We do have some. We had some good ones. Like Ichinojo was Snorlax. I'm very sad that I never get to talk about Snorlax again. Mitaki Umi was Salaryman because he was so consistent in Sekiwake that it felt like he was never going to leave that role. There were some others. You guys can remind me of my own, and I'm sure you have yours as well. Enho disliking hot foods was a big detriment to him. What a picky eater, by the way. Like, that's most of the best food. Yeah, he didn't like a lot of foods. I think he didn't even like beef. And it's like, well, if you don't like beef, you're definitely going to have a hard time bulking up. Also, when is Hoshuri going to learn that playing these dip games with Takayasu is a bad idea? He plays stupid mind games with someone who's kicked his ass to the tune of a 2-9 record. That's Hoshuri. I think he's doing it to motivate himself. He knows that the record is not favorable, so he's like, I'm going to play some games. That's what Hakuho would do, but Hakuho was successful at the games. So maybe there's a little bit of emulation there, but it's not working out for him. Tamawashi, tummy washer, and Gonoyana, gonorrhea. Tummy washer's okay, but gonorrhea is kind of like, Chiyomaru Cheeto Muncher. I don't get that literal. Mitch, I referred to Chiyomaru as his eternal roundness. Chiyomaru is Mr. Sumo. Hi, from Argentina. First time catching the live. Hello, welcome. I have no idea what time it is in Argentina, so if it's a really crazy time, I applaud you even more for listening live. Well, Wakamoto Haru is back. Please win, Wakamoto Haru. My Kachi Clash needs you. He's back? He's fighting tonight? Tomorrow for me? Tonight for some people? Okay. Who is he fighting? I don't want to doom about Takakeisho, so I'll simply keep drinking alcohol and ignore you. I know. I really don't want these streams to turn into Takakeisho doomers. No, don't tell me Takakeisho's turning 28 in August. He's too young for this. I won't doom, I promise. Takakeisho will move to West Side on the next Banzuke to go to Ozeki 2 West. Yeah, but Kirishima's out as well, and he's in that spot. Keisho was the only one standing in the same rank since I started watching sumo. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit if you were here. I apologize for repeating, but Takakeisho came up when it was Tochinoshin, Goedo, and Takayasu. And he did go down to Ozeki Wake in his first stint because he got a knee injury right after getting promoted to Ozeki. And he stayed out 2 tournaments, won Ozeki Wake, came in and demolished. Like, he got those 10 wins easily. And then he's been Ozeki ever since. And we've seen Mitaki Yumi and Shodai. We've seen, the Kirishima, Hoshoryu. We've seen all these guys come and go like nothing. And there's Takakeisho. One body part at a time is broken. Comes back in. Even managed to win Yushos in those circumstances. He has a will to win that's way stronger than his body. Well, his body is obviously pretty darn strong too if he can take that kind of abuse. Monster says he's always negative. Not true. Sometimes you're positive, but you are a hater. So I'll give you that. I'm pretty new to sumo, and I'm sad I didn't get to see him in his Ozeki days. He's one of my favorites. I am sad for you as well because he was so exciting. He came up out of nowhere, 21 years old, wins the Yusho. It felt like, yeah, this guy, he's the next great hope. And then that session, that infamous session with Hakuho in December, all downhill from there. IQ, you have a cool profile picture. No, Tamawashi is eternal youth. We have said that for quite a bit of time, and it's still kind of true. But it's fading. Whatever elixir he was living with it's starting to run out of supply. Tamawashi is amazing. At some point, it's on Enho for being so picky. Yeah, I mean, if you want to be a sumo wrestler, you better learn how to eat, I guess. I think we all have an idea what my nickname for Tobizaru is. It's probably not appropriate. So even if you put it here, I don't think I'll read it. Hello, Quackadoo. Good to see you. I don't think Hakuho ever lost to anyone 9 times outside of like Asashoryu and maybe Kisenosato. Yeah, Hakuho was basically just... What was amazing about him was, first of all, he was the scrawniest dude ever and found a way to bulk himself up enough. I mean, he was not the biggest Yokozuna, but he got himself big enough. He kept himself pretty healthy. And with that said, I mean, he's talking about having blood in his lungs after training sessions, so maybe he wasn't that healthy, but he at least had the endurance. I mean, what he did was amazing. We'll never see that again in our lifetime. And we put all this, like, hope on these new guys, and they just get injured right away. It's like, ugh. Hakuho, will you teach these guys, like, whatever secrets you had to not get injured or to recover quicker? Because it's not going so well, man. Okay, so Wakamoto Haru is going to fight Hiroumi. That is going to be a hype match. I want to see that. I might cry when Takekisho drops from Ozeki. Oh, I cry even thinking about it. It's going to happen probably sooner than later. And it's just going to be the worst feeling in the world. And I'm going to need lots of recovery time. I'll be like coming on here, talking to you guys. And then every once in a while, just like, I'm sorry. I need a minute. What were we talking about? Oh, Onosato's the new Ozeki. Oh. That's going to be me. It's going to be ridiculous. Kirishima will drop to Sekiwake, and then Takekisho will need to move to West Side to balance the Banzuke, because without balance, the Tate Gyoji will fall over on the slightly tilted piece of paper. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Still lame. If Keisho drops from Ozeki, I think he's dropping Sumo altogether. That is what we've been surmising for quite some time, that's what would happen. I can't imagine Takekisho fighting as a lower level guy, particularly if he's not up to fighting Ozeki sumo. He's not up to fighting any sumo. He's sort of an all or nothing guy. The only thing that throws the wrench in it is, does he have Kabu yet? Is he close to Kabu? Is he working on it? These are the things that might keep a guy fighting when he shouldn't fight. And the truth of the matter is, you know, he doesn't tell people anything. You never know anything about Takekisho. It's kind of amazing. You hear all these little murmurs from everybody else. You never know what shape he's in, who he's fought, where he's been. He's just a very private guy. So if he's managed to figure this Kabu thing out, we won't know until 5 seconds after he announces his retirement. Haruma Fuji is proof that even in the modern era, a small guy can be a Yokozuna. If you look at, and I think you guys were talking about this on Saturday, if you look at old sumos, they were not this big. And I don't know how far back that goes, but I almost wonder if some of the American sumos, the Hawaiian guys, like, really pumped up this need to get bigger, like it became a fad, because those guys were huge. But I don't know. I wasn't watching that far back. I hope all I hope is for when Takekisho does leave Ozeki, it doesn't involve the comically large wheelchair. Yeah, I mean, the truth is, and we've discussed this many times, he's risking his life every time he's up there. And that's a really hard position to be in, because it's like, I don't want to stop seeing him, and I want him to be Ozeki, and I want him to win Yushos. But at the same time, I don't want to see his career end the way that it could. I mean, he's absolutely nuts to fight the way that he fights with the condition he has. All he's doing at this point is just like trying to hold on as long as he can. There's no way for him to... His body has reached the point where it's in a decline. There's no way for him to go up from here. So hopefully he becomes a coach and then we get to see him that way, because we're never going to see the 21-year-old that I just thought was the greatest sumo wrestler ever. It's done already. I don't think Takakeisho would be super worried about a Kabu just because he's going to get a 3-year temp Kabu. That's true. And he's got all these like connections because his wife, her father was an Ozeki, and they live in that house and they have a training dojo in the basement, but her father passed away. So I don't know, but to get Kabu, you got to build connections. That's how that works. So I'm hoping that Takakeisho's got it all figured out. Yes, the Hawaiians had an influence on it from what I heard. I expect that that's why. I mean, the Hawaiians were huge. And here they are becoming Yokozunas, and it probably put pressure on these guys. Like, we need to get big too. And now I think everybody might be too big. But maybe I'm wrong. But I mean, it's certainly not going to help the injury problem to get too big. I do prefer the Hoshuryus, the skilled small guys that are big, but not overly big. Like, I'd like to see that style really prevail at some point. Keisho has 4 Yushos, which is 2 more than Kisenosato. Yeah, and Keisho got all but one of them while injured. He basically he has a high threshold for pain, apparently. I want to hear your comments on yesterday's comment, but I also want to go over the promotion pictures. Ugh. My comments on yesterday's comment. Can you tell me what you mean? My brain is just like fried. Yesterday's comment. Just tell me what it was. Here's a funny thought. Imagine a shrimp Takakeisho having to do the plop to get into his position. That will live in infamy when that happens. As long as he doesn't, like I said, as long as he doesn't break his neck before he gets to that place. I miss a Kiseyama the most from the big guy's side. So it's funny you say that because John, I don't know if you've listened. I don't know if you're just coming into live, if you've heard our preview shows or not. John, huge Kiseyama fan, so he's with you on that. The size is part of what makes sumo unique to me. I'd miss it. There's plenty of body types that have success. The open weight part is very cool about sumo. I'm not saying get rid of every single big guy. That's not my suggestion, but some of the guys are just, it works for Kotozakura. Like I said, he's so big and his style is so defensive that he actually can protect himself from injury a lot easier than some guys. So it's not overall get rid of all the big guys. I do like the open weight situation as well. Always driving forward. You had responses. Oh, you're saying yesterday, but you mean Saturday's chat. That's why you're throwing me off. Yes, I printed the chat so I could read it. All right, let me look through the papers. And then you can prepare your promotion demotion picture. All right, let's see. There was actually talk of a Kiseyama very early on in Saturday's show. All right, let's see. Sorry, I gotta get through here a little bit. We were talking about pull sumo. I'm new to the show and to this community. Find this place so interesting and informing. Thank you, people. Well, thank you for coming by. This is a very fun community because we are super active in terms of like a lot of shows like either show the matches or clips of the matches or whatever. This is basically like hanging out. We just literally just talk about sumo. There's no watching of sumo in any way. But we all get together and talk about sumo and make fun of each other and just kind of have fun during the tournament. And if things aren't going so well, then we just, we talk about the things like Tobizaro flying into the second row and other things that amuse us. So, welcome. I don't know how you found us, but thank you for coming. Okay. Here is one of the things. Let's see. How do we feel about Kirishima next time around now that we know it's going to be an Ozekiwaki tournament? We really didn't talk much about Kirishima, which I wanted to do. And we didn't talk about my guy Koto Eko either. So we're going to talk about that too. So I don't feel great about Kirishima. He's got a lot of injuries, and now he's got a spinal cord injury. I'm starting to wonder, and I think you guys talked about this later on, if we got to change the Tachi. I know everyone's resistant to change, and I see the reason. Maybe some individual guys need to change it because so many neck injuries. I don't know how the guys of the past didn't have neck injuries. Now, there was this whole big controversy that started with Chris Sumo's video about why are there so many more injuries. And I guess the Sumo elite said it's because they don't train as much. Maybe that's true. People were very mad about that. But hear me out. And I'm not putting a value judgment on it. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm saying this. The guys of the past probably did train a lot harder and wreck their bodies a lot more in training so that when they would have these collisions in the matches, they didn't get as hurt. That's just the way it works. But we are in a different world now. We're not in the world where just think about how the world functions. Things like the internet, cell phones, TV on demand, distraction after distraction. We don't have the same type of ability to focus on one thing or to be dedicated to one thing the way the guys of old were. It's just a different world. And so even if they try their hardest, they're not going to be the people before them. So they're going to have to adjust. They're going to have to try different things. And that might mean changing the Tachi, like individually, not making some sort of rule. But it might be changing the way you approach on the Tachi. It might be, not getting as heavy. There's going to be a shift. There's going to be a change, as much as change stinks. And then there's going to be the guy who's exactly the same as the guys of old. But we are in a weird transitional period, and in that period, we are losing a lot of guys to injury. So back to Kirishima, I'm worried about him. I don't know if he's going to overcome. He's not a monster like Takakeisho. Speaking of that old way, Takakeisho trained in a very brutally border on child abuse. He did build one tough, violent son who could take a lot of abuse. Good or bad, whether he should have done it or not, that is the truth. Takakeisho went through a level of training that the guys today do not go through, period. He was like the last of the old guard, even though he's young. So training might be the answer, but at the same time, maybe training the same way is not going to work. Okay, so Monster was hating on Onosato, whereas other people were like, no. Mitch was already hoping that Onosho would put Tobizaru into the cheap seats, which did happen. Mitch still believes that Kirishima can become Yokozuna. I don't. Let's see. Mitch had brought up Takeru Fuji and wondered how many wins he was going to get next tournament, whether he would get a Zensho. I have no idea what to expect from him. I heard through the grapevines that he has a history of actually hurting that area. That like his legs are way too small. He's trained his upper body so much, but his legs are smaller, and that's not necessarily something you can change. The way you put on muscle. So he might be an injury risk his whole career too. So we'll have to see. Mitch was all about having the Ura Yusho party, which we can't have now because Ura's losing. There was lots of talk about Tobizaru getting beat up by people. You guys had some good talk about the injury thing. I'm looking for it. Meanwhile, you guys are building up the comments, so that's good. This I just think is funny. Takekeisho and Daisho should retire and become Twitch gamers together. I would pay money to see that. I really would. I'd become #1 subscriber. Mitch wanted to restructure the Kabu system. Okay, here we go. For Kyujo injury protection, they should fall for the first couple 0-0-15, then freeze their spot so we don't have an Ozeki re-entering a Jonidan. Instead, they would re-enter at a competitive spot. JJ thought that we should change it to 4 tournaments a season. Talk about the dojo. So the question is, should we really change things? Like, should there be less sumo in between? I think that's one thing. Like, maybe if there was less... That's tricky, though, right? Because what if you're in a... If the tour actually produces good training sessions, that might actually help you not get injured. But if it's just really more entertainment-based, then it might be better to have more time to train. I mean, if these guys are expected to really train their bodies so that they're hard as a rock, maybe they need more time to train. You've got them so busy doing these tours in the off season that they don't have time to train. So maybe, but then you lose sumo fans. It's already a sport that's struggling to maintain its fan base in the country it's in. There's tons of us outside of the country, but we're not going to get to Japan so easily. And they won't offer us a package where we can pay lots of money to watch sumo how we want to watch it. So they're losing out on money that way. We would pay it. Okay, let's see what some of these comments are. We'll go right back up to, yeah, it's cool. I have fun here, and it's so chill. We have fun, too, and we're glad to welcome you to more of the fun. Okay, I love Tobizaru, but that kick made me Mitch for a minute when I saw it. That was a lame kick. I'm like, come on, Tobizaru. You look terrible in that match. You look like you didn't even care. I hate that I have to somewhat cheer for Shimanumi since the fate of Akisayama's Kabu is in his hands. Shimano-umi is cool. WTF. Oh, good. I like when Monster and Mitch disagree. It's very funny. I put the idea of the Tachi change in your head, I bet. You did. It's actually hard to read through all these comments. It was like 20 pages of comments. But I remember seeing you say that the Tachi didn't always used to be a clashing of the heads. And, yeah, I mean, maybe that's not a great idea. I know it would take away some of the excitement and everything, but it's like you're breaking people's necks. I don't know. I think if Goose was here, he would just disagree with every suggestion I made about changing things, so. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't change something. I just don't know what. I don't really have the answers at all. Haha, I saw that kick and thought, he's off balance, sending his ass flying. Yeah, he basically lost the match there. So as I was saying earlier, Mitch, I was watching NHK and Murray Johnson just was ripping on Tobizaru. He was like, what is he doing? He's just making himself lose. You need to go back and watch NHK tomorrow just to watch the commentary. Murray is hilarious. And he doesn't like crap like that. He just thinks it's like lame. The system of Kabu transfer rules and the politics of how it all works has really soured my opinion on Shimano-umi. Hey, Kabu's almost like Yakuza style stuff. Oh, Hoshiryu, why? I think we're all feeling that way. Seriously. I wanted so much more. I say why about a lot, though. Like, why Hoshiryu? Why Takekeisho? Why Takayasu? Like, come on. Do what I want. I'm not a Kabu expert, but Shimano-umi also makes Banzuke heads mad for his incredible luck to the point where I find it very funny, and now I like him. That's funny. Any thoughts on what they're going to do with Haku Oho since his departure is a COVID Kyujo? I don't think they're really going to cut him much of a break. I don't know. They set precedent that if it's COVID, you're allowed to do anything. And quite frankly, I questioned that and thought, did they say, let's go test him for COVID so we can get a break here? Because he was hurt. So I think COVID's like a little way for people to take advantage of the system. Now, anyway. It's never losing if he's having fun. Also, please don't get injured. Ura's like Gumby. So speaking of nicknames, I do call Ura Gumby. Somehow his body, or like Majin Buu, his body bends in the most awkward, insane shapes, and he just pops back up, and he's fine. And I hope it continues to be that way. And yes, Ura is so great that his record never matters. You don't even know and you don't care. Unless he were to win a Yusho, you'd be like, whatever. Oh, he went 6-9? I didn't expect that. Well, I had a fun time watching him. He's the only one who gets away with that. It's the tours, like he said. Yeah, the tours might be too much. They really might be. I mean, we're at a point now where, maybe you could do special events where people have to come to you. I know they're trying to get the people in the countryside, but these guys need time to train. If you're going to say training's the problem, then you need to give them more time to train. Sumo is supposed to be tradition, and standing tachiai is how it originally was. So that's kind of funny because isn't it amazing where we don't know what tradition is sometimes? We think we know. So we think that what they're doing now is how it's always been. But there's a point in time where it wasn't. And the tradition was what you're saying. And now people don't remember that. So it's like, no, we can't change anything. But they've changed plenty. So, I would expect that you'd actually come at each other grappling versus crashing into each other. I mean, football players do that with helmets on. Why the heck are these guys doing it without helmets on and scrambling their brains? I'm going to need to see that and then send Murray a thank you card. You will thank him. You will be so amused by his... He says lots of funny things about Tobizaru. You actually should catch the NHK stuff just to watch Murray call a Tobizaru match. He is absolutely the best. You telling me that you think Haku Oho is pulling some kind of Mitake Umi level stuff here trying to save his bacon? At the risk of being called a conspiracy theorist, I'm not going to answer the question. I'm just going to say it's a possibility. The truth is that it's only traditional when it's convenient. And that's everything in life, isn't it? We only remember the things we want to remember. We only care about the things we care to care about. It's human nature. Monster thinks Takeda Fuji's going to wind up 9-6. I disagree. I think he'll be 10-5. Still looking through the comments. There were things. You guys were mad at the chief referee. Now we might never know how Hakuho's coaching career will be if he gets in another scandal. I think they're going to be... I think the sumo elders are going to be hurting after this tournament. The scandal did not do good for anyone. And now we get to the tournament and all these guys are hurt. And people are going to be whispering. They're already changed their whole tune on Terano Fuji. They went from, take your time, to, oh, you need to reassess your role. I think there's all kinds of like negativity swirling around and they got a lot of fires to put out. So I think everybody's going to calm down on the scandal stuff for a while. Because as this is a phrase I've heard, they got in their feelings and they went hard on Hakuho because they thought we're gonna show him, and now they're the ones who are actually gonna be getting all the crap. Hakuho gets to lay low and they got to deal with all the crap, all these injuries, all these problems, all these knocks against sumo. They're not having a good time. We'll put it that way. Yeah, I guess basically the big thing was you guys were having a lot of fun. And I didn't get to interact as much because it's very difficult to speak to a person and read the chat, which is why John and I never do a live chat while talking the recap or the preview show, because it's impossible. I felt like Hiro Morita when he did his first live stream and he did not expect all those people to show up in the chat. And he's just like, that's how I felt. Like my mind couldn't go to two places at once. So, that's okay. Saturday was bonus and we had fun anyway. And you guys had fun talking to each other. And I reread over your comments. So we're good. Convenient, more like profitable. Never discount profitability. When do we get to have chicken fight 7? We get to have this. I don't know. Are those guys even going to be able to fight each other? Indeed, I want Ura versus Tobizaru right now. I feel like they got to book it just because people are kind of like, ugh, this tournament. I only need that fight just to have something to complain about. Mitch, there is plenty to complain about. Rare for you to want to fight that Tobizaru usually wins. Yeah, I want it because I enjoy the fight. But I also want it because I enjoy watching Mitch squirm. It's hilarious. But I want Ura to pick up more wins. I don't know if I want him to fight Tobizaru. But Tobizaru is having a rough tournament, actually. He looks like he's lost out there. I mean, just that stupid kick. That lame kick. You just frame that, and that's like the perfect depiction of Tobizaru's tournament. I like to believe in miracles. I'm glad you're a Takakeisho fan. Because if you were not, I don't think I can handle your hate. But everybody else, okay. It's funny. And use that miracle power to believe in Takakeisho winning another U show. It's probably never happening. Or staying Ozeki until the end of the year. But it stinks. Like, even if he somehow pulls it off, no one's going to be like, oh, Takakeisho's so great. It's like, oh, he's here? Great. He won again. Who cares? Like, I feel like that's how they've treated Takakeisho since the very beginning. Because he was Takanohana's pupil. So, like, they never liked him. Here he was, the Japanese Yokozuna, and they never, ever gave him any attention. The English broadcasters never rooted for him. There were a few times, but, like, most of the time they're like, no, this next guy, he's going to win out, Takakeisho or whatever. Like, he never got props. It wasn't in the cards for him. Keisho, another 11-4 U show. I'll take it. I just need a couple more Tobizaru losses so I can ceremoniously punt him down the Banzuke. Oh yeah, you better do your Jurio stuff because I have to wrap up very soon. So you should, if you're going to do any promotion stuff, here we go. We got our Jurio thing. This is so hard to read with this black thing. Jurio 4 and 6. Sushi Manada versus Aoyama. Poor Aoyama. 5 and 5 Aoyama. 5 and 5 Shiden. 5 and 5 Kazakeno. 6 and 4 Tochi Taikai. 6 and 4 Tamashoho. 7 and 3 Kageyaki. And 8 and 2 Shimano Umi. 6 and 4 Tohakuryu. 5 and 5 Hakuyozan. 10 and 0 Endo versus... Oh, so Endo and Wakataka Kage are fighting tomorrow? Awesome. I can't wait to see that. You are so based when you talk about Takakeisho. Listen, if somebody is my top guy, I will go to the ends of the earth. It's just what it is. It's a high threshold to become my top guy. But if you do, I will fight for you. Because I care. Juri Promotions. Endo, Chiyoshima, Wakataka Kage, Bushozan, Kageyaki, Tohakuryu. Oh, you'll be happy to see him back. We'll get some more pullers in there. Juro Demotions. Haku Oho if he doesn't get a rank stay for COVID. I bet you he does. Oshomi, Chiyomaru, Kazukano, and boy, that's a hard one. Sushimarada. I'm not going to miss Juryo tomorrow. I need to see Endo Wakatake Kage. I happen to love Endo. I think Mitch is a hater on Endo also. But I love Endo. I wish all the best for him. Makuuchi demotions. Tomokaze. Takeru Fuji already, which is such a bummer. Tsurugisho. Mitoryu, Roga, and Toki Hayate. Well, obviously Roga is still up in the air. Toki Hayate is still up in the air, but definitely Tomokaze, definitely Takeru Fuji, definitely Tsurugisho. Definitely Mitoryu. I kind of would like to see Aqua win so I can see him do some proper face plants in Juryo. You really do root for, like, the weirdest stuff. It's kind of funny. Rare Western Endo fans. Endo annoys me. Yes, I knew Endo would annoy you. Look, the guy is very talented. He's very skilled. You don't see it these days because he's in bad shape, but the guy is super skilled. How can you root against him? You just can't. Well, you can if you're you, but when I see talent, I just got to go with it. Unless there's something real shady about a guy, then I'll root against you. Or if you've done some, if you've messed with Takekeisho in a way that I do not approve, then I'll root against you. But everyone's pretty good about that. Yay, I got it in. You got it in, that's right. And it's all nice and out there and recorded, so anybody who listens, they're aware of what's going on. All right, guys. What do we got? Kita Harima, 3-3. Probably, this little icon is in the way. Probably much traffic ahead of him, but I can always hope. Man, it drives me crazy. There's like this little icon that you can push to react to the chat, and it hides like the corner word. Probably too much traffic ahead of him, but I can always hope. All right. Rooting for Kita Harima. We're at 1 hour and 22 minutes, gentlemen. And as usual, you are the last two standing, trying to keep me talking for another hour. Let's see. I'm going to give you a minute and a half. Losing to Tochi Taikai was such a choke. See, I don't watch that far down, so I feel out of my depth now. I do know of them, at least. Nabe Tame getting promoted would make the YouTube fans lose their collective mind. Alright, putting all these names into the back of my mind so that when these guys start making their appearances, we can get excited. I'm like so bummed out that Haku Oho is just fizzling out. I had high hopes for him. Oh, did I have high hopes? I might be like Hakuho, and I can kind of see talent, but I don't see the whole picture. And it burns me every time. I haven't seen the Sumo Food channel, so I only care about Kita Harima. I love the Sumo Food channel. It's so good. Although I do wonder if he gets a name change if he does get promoted. I like his name how it is. It's a very fun name to say. Kita Harima. Nabetame is the famous one from Sumo Food. That's why I know these names. I'm sitting here, I'm like, why do I know these guys? Because I watch Sumo Food. What an excellent channel. Highly recommend. Gotta keep the injury realism in your mind. Never get your hopes up too much. I'm there. I was a dreamer, a hoper. Now I'm just a downer because these injuries are hitting everybody. So I can never get that hyped about anybody again. Not till I see somebody who can't get hurt. And that's like nobody. But Koto Zakura looks like he's close enough to maybe being able to preserve himself. But everybody else, fair enough. I watch here and there, but not every video. I definitely don't see every video, but I try to at least watch parts of every video. very, very busy during sumo season with trying to write all these notes and do these live streams and stuff. Happy to see that our Tsukidashi wrestlers are doing well. All right, guys. I'm going to do it to you. I'm going to end the stream. I know you're going to say things, but I have to end the stream because now I'm feeling tired. But this is a lot earlier than Saturday's stream when I was just starting at this time and was thinking, how am I going to get through it? But I'm glad you all came. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel, and bring all your exciting comments so we can chat. And thank you to all the new people who came tonight. Time for the random Sandame wrestler and good stream. Thank you, guys.